Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're a DIYer or a professional technician who works on modern transmissions, you're going to want to pay close attention to this one. Because today, we're tackling a problem that can cause a massive headache right after you think you've finished a big transmission repair on your Jeep, Chrysler, or Dodge. And trust me, you'll want to stick with me to the end of this video, because I'll break down not only the fix, but also exactly what it costs to get this problem sorted out, potentially saving you from a world of frustration and unnecessary expense. So, let's dig into a really common question I see popping up all over car forums, Facebook groups, and getting asked by fellow techs. Why does my car's scan tool say it's in the wrong gear after I just did a bunch of transmission work? And most importantly, what's the secret to actually fix it? Okay, so let's set the scene. It's a familiar story. You've spent hours, maybe even days under the car. Maybe you or your mechanic just wrestled in a new valve body in your transmission, which is no small feat. Or maybe you swapped out the TCM, the transmission control module, thinking you've finally solved that pesky shifting issue. You've buttoned everything up, filled the fluid to the perfect level, and you're ready for a victory lap. You plug in wiTECH, the official FCA scan tool, to clear any codes, and your heart sinks. The tool is confidently telling you the car's in overdrive, while you're clearly, physically, sitting in park. The car might not even start, because the neutral safety switch is getting conflicting information. Sounds crazy, right? Your first thought is probably, did I get a bad part? Did I install it wrong? But you're not alone. This is actually a known issue, and it's more of a procedural step than a hardware failure. Here's what's really going on under the hood and inside the computer. This specific problem is documented and filed under NHTSA ID 1022930. That number points to an internal FCA, that's Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, now part of Stellantis, memo labeled S2021000004. This document is the key to understanding everything. Now, to clear up any confusion, this is not a safety recall. A recall is issued for widespread safety-critical defects, and this doesn't meet that bar. You're not in immediate danger, and it's not exactly a technical service bulletin or TSB either. TSBs are typically for common repair procedures that are well documented for technicians. Think of this memo as a dealer tip sheet, a special communication called a Star Online publication. FCA sent this out to its dealership network to help technicians specifically when this weird gear reading pops up after repairs. It's an internal heads-up, which is why many people outside the dealer network have never heard of it. So what's the actual fix? It's all about retraining your car's brain, specifically its adaptive memory. Whenever you work on the valve body, swap out the TCM, or do similar major repairs, the transmission's control system can get a little, well, confused. But it's more than just confusion. The TCM has learned the exact hydraulic pressures and solenoid timings needed to operate your old, worn-in parts. When you install a brand new part with fresh tolerances, the TCM's old data is now incorrect. It's applying the wrong amount of pressure or expecting a response that doesn't happen, causing a logical error. That's why the scan tool's data doesn't line up with the physical position of your shifter. The manufacturer's guidance in that memo is pretty clear, and it's a multi-step process. Step 1. Use the wiTECH tool to clear any stored diagnostic trouble codes. This gives you a clean slate, so you're not chasing old problems. While you're there, make sure your TCM and PCM software is fully up to date. Sometimes, an update contains revised logic that can prevent these issues. Next, and this is the most critical step, you need to run a procedure called Quick Learn. This is a static test done in the shop. The scan tool commands the TCM to cycle through the gears, engaging each clutch and measuring the volume of transmission fluid and the time it takes to fill each clutch pack. This process erases the old adaptive memory and builds a brand new baseline calibration table. It helps the transmission relearn clutch fill times and shift behaviors, so it knows exactly what to do with the new or refreshed components. This is what syncs the electronic brain with the new mechanical parts. Now, if you specifically replace the valve body or the solenoid pack, there's often another more specific procedure called the valve body Solenoid Learn. This fine-tunes the calibration for the individual solenoids themselves. After the in-shop procedures are done, it's time for a road test. This isn't just a joyride, it's a specific procedure called the TCM Adaptation and Drive Learn. You actually have to drive the car in a specific way so the module can adapt in real-world conditions. This usually involves a series of gentle accelerations and decelerations, allowing the transmission to shift up and down through all the gears multiple times. It sounds fancy, but it's just the TCM fine-tuning the shift pressures and timing based on the quick learn data, making sure every shift is perfectly smooth, and most importantly, that the transmission always knows which gear it's in. One more pro tip from the FCA memo. They say to temporarily disable any engine start-stop features before performing these learn procedures. An unexpected engine shutdown could interrupt the process and corrupt the calibration data. And if a technician runs into anything weird or the procedure fails, FCA tells them to contact their STAR hotline for direct engineering support. I know it sounds like a lot of complicated steps, but for dealership technicians, this is a routine part of the job. They do this every single day. They're just following FCA's prescription to the letter to ensure a successful repair. And if you check Jeep, Chrysler, and Ram forums, you'll see tons of owners and independent mechanics talking about how critically important these adaptation steps are for transmissions like the ZF8 Speed and the 948 TE. In fact, many savvy DIYers mention using powerful aftermarket tools like Alpha OBD or AppCard DiaGFCA to manually reset the adaptive values and perform the quick learn procedure themselves. The results are almost always the same. The gear indicator reads correctly, and the transmission shifts way better than before. Now, it's very important not to get this confused with a totally different actual recall. For example, there was a 2020 recall, number 20V034, to replace the valve body separator plate on certain vehicles. That was for a specific manufacturing defect that could cause a loss of hydraulic pressure. That's a hardware problem. That is not what we're talking about here. This S2021000004 memo is strictly a software and calibration issue about making sure your car's computer knows what to do with the correctly installed parts. Alright, so what's the bottom line? Before you condemn that brand new part or start thinking you have to pull the transmission all over again, stop. If your scan tool says you're in the wrong gear after transmission work, the problem is almost certainly that you need the quick learn and adaptation procedures performed with a capable scan tool like wiTECH. There's no need to panic, and you definitely don't need to replace the whole transmission. It's a software fix, not a hardware catastrophe. So, the question you've been waiting for, how much does this fix actually cost? If you take it to a dealership or an independent shop with the right equipment, you're usually looking at a labor charge for about 1 hour. The whole process, including the drive learn, typically fits within that time frame. Depending on your area and local shop rates, that puts you squarely in the ballpark of $100 to $200. It's a small price to pay for peace of mind and a properly shifting transmission. And if you've got the right scan tool like Alpha OBD and you're comfortable navigating its menus, you might even be able to save that money and do it yourself. Just be sure to follow the instructions for your specific vehicle carefully. If you found this explanation helpful and it potentially saved you from a major headache, please do me a favor and hit that like button. Leave a comment below if you've ever had this exact issue. Your story could help someone else. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more clear, honest car advice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.